I'm Tamara Salchert, and I will be doing the topic on universal design. So first, to define universal design, it is the design and composition of an environment so that it can be accessed, understood, and used to the greatest extent possible by all people regardless of their age, size, ability, or disability. So some examples of what isn't universal design would be that it benefits only a minority of a population rather than the majority. And another example would be a building that doesn't have a wheelchair ramp or elevators when there's stairs but no wheelchair ramp. I have a list of the 7 universal design principles that I will be going through throughout this slideshow more in depth. So the first is equitable use. The design is useful and marketable to people with diverse abilities. It provides the same means of use for all users, and we're also supposed to avoid dividing and labeling any users. And make the design desirable by all users is very important. Just because you're trying to make it accessible to all users doesn't mean you should lose the beauty of the design. One of the examples that I have is one of my friends deals with colorblindness, and when we first started playing an online game together, he couldn't tell the difference between the good and bad people because either had a green bar or a red bar. So the cool thing is Destiny implemented the option to change the color of the bars so for a color impairment, just like the example here. So red, green, or yellow, blue. And after that, we had no problem playing. So it's really cool that they did that. The next one is flexibility in use. The design accommodates a wide range of individual preferences and abilities. So it provides options and methods of use such as devices and allows for flexibility of the original design. So in other words, you can work off of it or make it more flexible than before. A website cannot be static or inflexible. It must be able to be changed and adapt to all users. It allows for the users to adjust and use the website, like as I said before, on a variety of devices. The example that I have here is a website and mobile device. Not every person has access to a computer, so it's crucial for a website to be flexible in the way that it's a responsive website, as we've been taught in class, whether on a computer or a phone, so that it won't affect the user's experience and then make it harder for them using one over the other, which that should not have to be the case. The third principle is simple and intuitive use. Use of design is easy to understand regardless of the user's experience, knowledge, language skills, or current concentration levels. Make it as simple as possible, not extremely complex, and use the same design consistently throughout the whole project, such as a template to keep it consistent. Arrange info to be in order of importance. So important information should not be found at the bottom of the web page. And allow for promoted feedback during the duration of the project. So if there's someone with a disability and you allow them to review your website and let you know how they were able to access it and whether or not you need improvements, would be incredible feedback to have a website that's more universally designed. So as I have an example here, a simple website design would be ideal. So it is very easy to understand as well as a little to no visual clutter. It's very simplistic. It's very direct and not overwhelming with the text, but it has simple directions and explanations. This is great, especially for people with certain disabilities where they cannot handle too much sensory overload and would not be able to do what they need to do on the website, which is why I also love this website. It's in the grayscale, which also keeps it simple, as well as the simple icons to explain each category and all of that. Another thing is they used sans serif, which is very easy to read. Now the next one is perceptible information. So the design communicates necessary information effectively to the user, regardless of the ambient conditions or the user's sensory abilities. This would be in reference to, for instance, hearing impairments or visual impairments. So use different modes, such as pictures or sound. Maximum readability for essential info. For instance, one of the most easy to read text styles is sans serif. It is just like here in the corner here, you can see it doesn't have the feet like Times New Romans would. It's universally readable by most users because it's just very simple. And then provide compatibility with a variety of techniques or devices that people with sensory limitations would use. So here in the example, the slideshow is a screenshot of one of my favorite music videos at the moment. They allowed subtitles for their music, which is awesome. Just you would go down to the closed caption and click on that, and then into the settings to be able to adjust it. That was so awesome. Though I want to mention, I did try one of my other favorite music videos that had over 700 million views, and it didn't allow for subtitles. Something that I think many music industries are horribly behind on, and it's actually kind of sad. The next principle is tolerance for error. The design minimizes hazards and advertises or adverse consequences of accidental or unintended actions. So it provides warnings about hazards and errors and provides fail-safe features. So an example, just like in Adobe that I use, or most programs, are shortcuts to or like the undo key to revert back one or several steps in case you made a mistake, allowing for mistakes not having huge consequences. And another example is below here is the reservation request. This error occurs when the code is set up in such a way that it lets the user know that their info is incorrect and needs to be adjusted. So arrival date is invalid. So they know that they need to adjust that, as well as instead of it needs to be a number instead of a word. And then the sixth principle is low physical effort. The design can be used effectively and comfortably with a minimum of fatigue. It allows the user to maintain a comfortable body position, whether they're standing or sitting, and minimize repetitive actions, and also minimizes long physical effort. As we know, many people use their computers for hours a day to perform tasks at work. The amount of time we spend on computers is super taxing on our bodies. And even more so if you have a physical disability. That's why when I did the disability simulator, I used Trembling Trevor. Having a website with a lot of info, links, and buttons caused me to constantly be clicking on the wrong thing, and it was extremely frustrating experience. So that's another reason why this is such an important principle in design. And the final one principle is size and space for approach and use. Appropriate size and space is I lost track here. Appropriate size and space is provided for approach, reach, manipulation, and use regardless of the user's body size, posture, or morbidity. So it makes components easy to access whether standing or sitting, accommodates all different hand sizes and grip size. So an example here is the hamburger menu. So a small target area can be a problem, for instance, on a mobile device because it's more difficult to select. So according to MIT Touch Lab study that I found in 2003, the average size of a human adult index finger is 1.6 to 2 centimeters. Converting that, we have probably about 60 to 70 pixels on a digital screen. So in this example, it's very important to make things like the hamburger menu that are sizes for the average human index finger so that it's flexible for anyone with a disability that might have to use their thumb or index when using their mobile device or tablet, whatever they prefer. In the next examples, I have my websites, but I'm just going to exit out here and go to them. For my bad website first, let me just refresh this. Oh my goodness. As you can see, this is breaking almost every universal principle of design. The size and space principle is disregarded in this website, as everything you want to click on is extremely small and all different sizes. It's also not mobile friendly at all. If I zoom in, or not zoom in, if I just try to see if it's a responsive web page, it definitely isn't, and you can barely even see the menu bar here. And then, so for the simple and intuitive use for Principal, well, that's also out the window. It's extremely complex and hard to navigate. It's major sensory overload. There's items all over the page, and there's no specific direction on where this is going, which also leads to low physical effort principle. So if I'm like trying to tab around, for a moment it seems kind sort of like it's going somewhere, and then it just drops out of nowhere. It just has no clear direction whatsoever. And then for my good website, I actually used Pinterest. So let's see here. So the thing that I like about Pinterest is it follows the simple, intuitive design to a T. It's not a complex layout. It's easy to understand. The icons have symbols for those with reading disabilities, making it easy to just like the drop-down button, I can decide where I want it to go. It's very large area for me to click, as well as all the pictures. If I want to make it bigger, it like just so simple, and very simple buttons to click and not a busy background. And it's also flexible. It can be used for both the computer and tablet and mobile devices. I have the app on my phone. I was having problems trying to make it a responsive website just by inspecting it. It's just not the same, but when you have the app, it's fantastic. I actually use it all the time. Also, the navigation also follows size and space principle. The buttons are easy to click on the mobile phone, and it's easy to edit and rearrange your items. So if I went to my boards, it's so easy. They, like I said, instead of words, they just have an icon to show like a pencil for edit. That's a very common symbol. So if I just want to adjust something, and everything is very self-explanatory of like, what do you want in your board, or that kind of thing. So I love the simplicity of this, and I love when you hover over it, it highlights the image, so you have an idea of where you're at, especially for someone that maybe tabs around instead of maybe they don't have a mouse to use. So, but yeah, that is my ending of my presentation. Thank you so much.